Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem. We're still discussing this verse. وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. And then when the Quran is recited, then remain silent and listen. And then we gave briefly, we told you that the strict application of this verse is in the time of Salah, when the Quran is being recited, you must listen. And the second was in the time of khutbah also, you must listen. And then we discussed this in detail, that if somebody is doing his own personal recitation, like, for example, husband is reciting, right? Somebody sits here and does their own personal recitation, then in the strict sense of the word, it is not wajib, it is not necessary to listen, right? Although it is respectful. So if somebody comes here, we are busy here, and they start reciting the Quran here, then this verse does not apply to us in the strict sense of the word, because that is the person's personal recitation, right? Although we say it is inappropriate, that is why we say, then also ulama have derived from that when you know people are somewhere and they are doing something and they are not ready to listen to the Quran, then don't go recite by them, because you're going to be the cause of them not listening. Like I told you, maybe you're traveling in a vehicle, now you want to put on the Kirat, the CD, whatever, and you know people. Although I'm not saying that the recitation on the CD is the same as the recitation, real live recitation. There is a difference, but still it is inappropriate. It is still inappropriate. So from that also, like you see, like I told you, how some shops in Saudi and these places, they want to play Kirat as a form of entertainment on a Friday. That is inappropriate. Okay, carry on, read from there, inshallah. You put on the page here, right? Read Bismillah. Where we stop? Where is it exactly? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Read Bismillah. وإذا قرئ القرآن فاستمعوا وأنصتوا لعلكم ترحمون. وقال أيضا عن بشير بن جابر قال صلى ابن مسعود فسمع ناسا يقرؤون مع الإمام فلما انصرف قال أما أنا لكم أن تفهموا أما أنا لكم أن تعقلون. So remember we told you that the strict application of this verse is that when the Imam is reciting, then you shouldn't recite with the Imam, right? So like there's a hadith he said, man kana la imamun fa qira'atul imami qira'atun lahu, etc. So that hence there's a hadith on Bashir ibn Jabir. He said Salah ibn Mas'ud, that once Ibn Mas'ud was reading Salah, fasami'a nasan, he heard some people, right, yaqra'una ma'al imami, but while the Imam was reciting, they were also reciting, right? So generally, the ladies, they won't go to the masjid to make Jamaat namaz, etc., etc. But I told you sometimes maybe they're reading Jamaat by the house, maybe husband, father, son, whatever. They didn't make it to the masjid, now they're making imamat. So there's an important masah for them. So once if the imam is reciting in the Jahri namaz especially, then they mustn't recite. Although in the Hanafi madhab, some ulama have given permission that in the sirri namaz, the silent namaz, you can also recite with the imam, but it's not the preferred opinion, right? So nevertheless, but you can, it's been permitted. So as Ibn Mas'ud heard people reciting with the imam, فَلَمَنْ صَرَفَ, then after salah, he said, أَمَا أَنَا لَكُمْ أَن تَفْهَمُوا, didn't the time come for people to understand? Ama ana lakum an ta'qilu, to understand it. Look here, when the Imam is reciting, you mustn't be reciting, you must be listening. You must be listening. Carry on. وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا. So when the Quran is being recited, then listen and remain silent. مَا أَمَرَكُمُ اللَّهُ, like how Allah Ta'ala has commanded you. قد روى الإمام أحمد عن أبي هريرة. Imam Ahmad narrates on the authority of Abu Hurairah رضي الله تعالى عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم انصرف من صلاة جهر فيها بالقراءة, that once Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam turned from a salat in which he was reciting loud, فقال, he said, هل قرأ أحد منكم معي آنفا, did any of you read with me? I was the Imam, I was reciting loud. Did anyone recite with me? قال رجل نعم يا رسول الله. The other person said, yes يا رسول الله, we read with you. قال إني أقول ما لي أنازع القرآن. So Nabi Sallallahu responded, I was saying that why am I being competed with? In other words, I'm the Imam, I'm the one who must recite. Seems like somebody's competing with me, so why am I being competed with? قال, right? فانتهى الناس عن القراءة مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So after this explicit command, people desisted from reciting what Rasulullah فيما جهر فيه من القراءة من الصلاة, in that which he, يعني Rasulullah recited loud the qiraat in the salah. حين سمعوا ذلك, when they heard this express instruction from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وقال عبد الله بن المبارك لا يقرأ وراء الإمام فيما يجهر به الإمام. Abdullah ibn Mubarak says clearly that لا يقرأ, it will not be recited behind the Imam in that salah where the Imam is reciting loud. تكفيهم قراءة الإمام, that the qiraat of the Imam is sufficient. وَإِن لَمْ يَسْمَعْ صَوْتَهُ, even though you can't hear his voice. So sometimes maybe like in previous days where the masjid maybe was very, very big, there was no microphone or something. So if it is a loud salah, it is jahri salah, you will still just remain silent even if you can't hear the Imam, right? وَإِن لَمْ يَسْمَعْ صَوْتَهُ وَلَكِنَّهُمْ يَقْرَؤُونَ فِي مَا لَا يَجْهَرُ سِرًّا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ. Yes, but they can recite in that which he does not recite loud, silently to themselves, right? I told you this is also an opinion that some ulama in the Hanafi madhab permit it. So I'll repeat it. What he's saying here, Tafseer Ibn Katheer is saying, obviously he was not a Hanafi. He's saying that in a sirri namaz, you can recite behind the Imam. I tell you, in the Hanafi madhab, most of us here are Hanafis here, even the online ones are Hanafis, that if you happen to be reading behind the Imam, there is an opinion that permitted, but it's not the mainstream opinion, right? So in a silent namaz, you can read. وَلَا يَصْلَحُ لِأَحَدٍ خَلْفَهُ أَن يَقْرَأَ مَعَهُ فِي مَا يَجْهَرُ. So it is not appropriate for anybody خَلْفَهُ, behind the Imam, أن يقرأ معه, that recites with him فيما يجهر به. Yeah, right? That in that which the Imam is reading loudly, sirran wala alaniyatan. You will not read loud and you will not read soft. Why? Because in Allah Ta'ala qala, because Allah Ta'ala expressly says, وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. When the Quran is being recited, then listen and remain silent, right? So that you may be shown mercy. وَهَذَا مَذْهَبُ طَائِفَةٍ مِنَ الْعُلَمَاءِ. And this is, so here now if venturing into some of the jurisprudence, say this is the madhab of a big group of the ulama, وأحد قولي الشافعية, and it's one of the opinions of Imam Shafi, لما ذكرناه, because why Imam Shafi went to this, because of what we mentioned here, to the proofs, all those hadith we mentioned, من الأدلة المتقدمة. وقال الشافعي في الجديد, and Imam Shafi says in his جديد قول يقرأ الفاتحة فقط في سكتات الإمام. We discussed this here, that because Imam Shafi says, see, there's a hadith, la salata illa bi fatihah al-kitab. There's no salah illa bi fatihah al-kitab, right? So that means, your salah is not complete without fatihah. And the verse said that you cannot read when the Imam is reciting. So Imam Shafi reconciles. He said, look, when the Imam finishes his recitation of Surah Fatiha, you must recite the Surah Fatiha, right? That's why Imam Shafi makes amal on both the hadith and he makes amal upon the Quran. The Hanafi say no, even though we said the Hanafi say no, you don't have to recite the Fatiha in the sakatat. That means after the Imam recited. Why? Because the la salata illa bi Fatiha kitabi. When you got the Imam, then we won't say your salat is out without Fatiha to kitab. Why? Because the Imam is reciting Fatiha for you. The Imam is reciting Fatiha for you. You understand what I'm saying? So if you don't recite Fatiha, then the Fatiha of the Imam suffices for you. Understood it? وهو قول طائف من الصحابة والتابعين فمن بعدهم. So this about reciting Surah Fatiha when the Imam finished quickly reciting it. This is also the opinion of some of the Sahaba Ikram and the Tabi'in. Okay, Mulana Nazim is there. We'll stop. We're going to switch over now to Mishkatu, inshallah. May Allah Ta'ala accept. May Allah Ta'ala make it a means of shifa. Subhanallah.